So the sky is blue, the GT4 European Series. We had the first race on Easter Sunday and here at Nogaro on Easter Monday. Perfect conditions for race 2. Victory yesterday after a chase through the order for Duncan and Heisman and Luke Brahms in the V8 Racing Chevrolet Camaro. Ahead of their teammates Marcel Noren and Jelle Bielen. Will we have the same again today? Duncan Heisman starting on pole position. Alongside him though is the number 8 Ecris Motorsport BMW M3 of Simon Knapp, and the other Camaro that finished second yesterday is down in 9th place on the grid. So we'll look for the big powerful American muscle working its way through, and also look out from the second row for another piece of American muscle, the black Mustang of this morning. It'll be driven by Ricardo van der Ende. He will hand over. It's a 50-minute race. Bernard van Horange, and that went off on the first lap yesterday. So we will get to see a car we really didn't see race, but there was all sorts of changing around in the order. And the green car you see at the back is one of the Sins, 2 Sins in the race, Sin R1s, but the yellow one, 71, which will be starting on the second row, led almost all the race and then lost out to the Camaros. But it's very busy back down by the track. Let's hear from Max. How are you doing down there, Max?
Hi there everyone, it's Max here from the grid. Next to me is standing Duncan Heisman on pole position. He won yesterday. Duncan, you won yesterday, what do you think for today?
Well, we have a good position to be in the lead. I mean, on pole position it's always good. Yesterday we proved that the car is good in race pace. So I will try to do my best and to bring the car in with a little lead so that Luke can hopefully maintain the gap and we'll be on the podium again.
You think that the gap will be big enough for Luke?
I hope. I do my best, and I don't know, we need to see. I don't know what the others can do, but qualifying proved that it must be possible to get a small gap.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
So there's the pole sitter, Duncan Heisman, great looking Chevrolet Camaros. In the background you can see the Ecris Motorsport BMW M3 that Simon Knapp will start before handing over to Rob Severs. So 2 types of car on the front row. Great crowds here at Nogaro, traditional Easter Monday race meeting, very well attended, and the weather is playing its part too. As you can see, there's quite a breeze. It's blowing across the circuit as it was on Easter Sunday, blowing into the pit, so effectively across the start-finish straight and the long straight down to turn 7, but the banking packing up through the day. And Max is busy. He's just moved across to the other side of the front row, and now he's going to talk to Simon Knapp.
I'm standing here to the car of Simon Knapp and Rob Severs. I'm talking in Dutch because for the language is better. Simon, wat denk je voor de race straks?
Ja, we moeten het beste van maken. We gaan ons best doen en ik denk dat we mee kunnen strijden om podiumplaatsen.
Could you say it once more?
Sorry?
Wat zei je?
We moeten gewoon in het Nederlands.
Then live.
Oh, ik denk dat we wel mee kunnen strijden om podiumplaatsen. Ja, we moeten ons best doen en hard rijden en geen fouten maken.
Okay, so Simon thinks he will be managed to drive in the podium together with Rob Severs. I hope he will manage it.
Well, yesterday Simon and Rob took their car up to 4th place, but victory, as we know, went to Duncan Heisman after a strong drive up the order. Luke Brahms started Chevrolet Camaro at number 96, and a long chase to catch and then eventually pass Marcel Noren in the sister car, the number 69 Camaro, that is starting down on row 4. So 50 minutes this race. You can see the unusual door in the background on the green Sin at the back just being closed. That's number 11, which will be starting right at the back with Bulgarian driver Grigor Grigoriev at the wheel of the car. Aston Martin, you see as you go through the grid there on the 3rd row. Jörg Wiebahn drove very strongly yesterday, ended up in 3rd place, and then in fact didn't make it back on the slowing down lap and had to be towed in. So some late problem, but a very strong drive under a lot of pressure from the big Camaros. Back row, the grid there is Grigor Grigoriev's Sin, the green car on the right-hand side of your screen, and on the left it's Lisette Brahms in the number 4 BMW from Las Moras Racing Team. So we'll go around behind the safety car for the course car for a formation lap, and then 50 minutes of racing. 10:59 on the clock, counting down towards the start. 12 cars here for the opening round of the GT4 European Series. The first race yesterday was a 1-2 for the V8 Racing Chevrolet Camaros and third place to the Mathol Racing Aston Martin Vantage GT. This time though, led away on the formation lap by 96. Yesterday's race winner with Duncan Houseman on board. Second place alongside him as they go around the circuit one final time before the start. Simon Knapp in the BMW M3. And a car you may have picked up at the back of that grouping there was number 18, which is the Pro Sport Performance Porsche Cayman. That was right in the mix, but ended up down in 5th place. Strong run, lost out a little bit. Thomas Krebs and Arno Klaassen sharing that car, but great looking racing car. So bringing up the rear of the order is the green Sin with Grigor Grigoriev. He will be handing that over to teammate Ivailo Tsonev, another Bulgarian racing driver, racing for the Sofia Car Motorsport team, named of course after the Bulgarian capital. That's one of the 2 Sin R1s in the race. Black Lotus number 6, driven by Pavel Lefterov, and he finished in 8th place yesterday. We had 9 finishers, 3 fallers, if you will. Grigor Grigoriev, and in the 11 Sin failed to finish. Andre Grammatico, he ran strongly up in about 3rd place. He had to park his BMW M3, French racer, and the Ecris Motorsport Ford Mustang, that failed to make it round past the 5th lap, I'm afraid. And there it is on your screens. It's the black Mustang with the broad orange stripes on its nose, and that's going into back end of the back straight there, turn 7. So there's the starting order, 12 cars going out to play a 50-minute race. Duncan Houseman will start the race and hand over to Luke Brahms. Simon Knapp will hand his BMW over to Rob Severs. And Hendrik Still is one of a handful of drivers who will be driving solo. They have to come into the pit lane and stop for 1 minute. It's a timed pit stop, so it doesn't have to be too much of a rush, but he has to sit there and then wait and then rejoin the race. Ran well yesterday, slight problems dropped him down to an eventual 6th, but he did look comfortable when he was in the lead. So let's see what he can do today. The second time of asking in the second race of the opening round, the GT4 European Series for GT4 cars. Bright blue sky, wind coming from a northeasterly direction, but with every hour the day is getting warmer. And certainly the race action could be very warm indeed, but I do feel that Duncan Houseman will pull away in the lead of this race. He was very strong yesterday, worked his way up the order in the 96 Camaro, past the sister car, going through turn 14. The lights are red on the gantry. We're waiting for them to go out and the cars to be released. And I certainly feel that American horsepower will be leading the way down to the first corner. Here we go, let's go racing, and indeed Duncan Houseman takes the lead, and Ricardo van der Ende in the black Mustang is quickly trying to take 2nd place, but Simon Knapp holds onto it in the BMW. Ooh, tail went round a little bit there for Hendrik Still in the yellow Sin, holding down 4th. I thought we were going to lose it and see a spin as we had in the opening qualifying race for the Blancpain GT series, but all is good. So a good start there, strong start from Ricardo van der Ende, gaining 1 position by picking off Hendrik Still. And pole starter Duncan Houseman leading the way, holding off Simon Knapp. Wait till they get to the back straight, then you'll see the great big V8 power of the pole-sitting Camaro really coming to its own, and he is, I'm sure, going to open out the gap between himself. It's 4-5 car lengths already over the BMW, and Ricardo van der Ende in the black Mustang is closing right in on the BMW, already starting to take a look as they come down towards turn 7 at the end of the back straight. He's on the inside line. Is he close enough to make it? Yes, he is, and the Sin had a little look inside the BMW as well, but Simon Knapp closed the door on him quite legitimately. So it's Chevrolet, Mustang, BMW, Sin, and then the Aston Martin. 5 makes of car in the top 5 positions. What a great advertisement for the GT4 European Series. Interesting today, we didn't get to see much of the black Mustang yesterday because the driver at the wheel now, Ricardo van der Ende, was smiling on the opening lap, but not a few laps later when, I'm afraid, a puncture scuppered their chances and the tyre flapped around, flailed around, damaged the bodywork of the car. Ricardo clipping up the dust on the inside of the curb there, and the car had to be retired. But the way he's taking the race to the Chevrolet Camaro today suggests that Duncan Houseman will not have it all his own way. And Simon Knapp's having a little look down the inside into turn 1, but it was in fact, I think, as much as anything to keep the Sin behind him. And again, Ricardo van der Ende is really taking the apex very, very tight indeed every chance he gets, kicking up the dirt on the inside, and it's handling very well that big black Mustang. And Duncan Houseman is really, really going to have to push. But the driver who's really making an effort at the moment is Hendrik Still in the yellow Sin. He wants to get past that BMW to go with those big American cars. He may be able to do it down the back straight, let's see, but that's the point at which the Camaro and then the Mustang really start to stretch their legs. But this time Ricardo van der Ende is only 2-3 car lengths behind the Chevrolet of Duncan Houseman and closing in as they go down the longest stretch of the circuit. Paul Armagnac down to turn 7, not close enough to make a move, but he's really, really working on Duncan Houseman there. And third place is now in the hands of the Sin with Hendrik Still at the wheel. He passes Simon Knapp, used that far, far lower profile to work his way down the back straight. Now he's got to see if he can chase off the big American muscle cars at the front. And don't forget, yesterday Hendrik looked very strong indeed leading the race. And then towards the end of this 50-minute race, after the pit stop, you can see his tyres really started to go off. But the driver with the biggest push of all is Ricardo van der Ende in the number 1 Mustang. He's making Duncan Houseman work very hard, using the curbs, of course they both do, as does Simon Knapp behind them. And it looks as though we've, of course, in third place in between, so low you couldn't see it in that head-on shot, is the little yellow Sin. Well, problem there for Jörg Wiebahn in 5th place. He ran wide going into turn 13. He'll have lost a lot of momentum, and I think he's going to be passed by Jelle Bielen. So the Chevrolet Camaro will go up to 5th place, I would think. But that was a scary moment early in the race for Jörg Wiebahn. Drove beautifully yesterday, but certainly ran wide at turn 13, had to come off the throttle, and that will have cost him a lot of position. Has he been demoted to 5th? Can't quite see, but this battle for the lead of the race, absolutely fantastic. But just to point out, behind them, Hendrik Still should be closing in. He's set 2 purple sectors. The lap is split into three parts, and purple means you're the fastest of all in those 2 sectors. So Hendrik Still has the speed to catch up with this lead duo. Coming around as one onto the back straight, and he's 1 car length closer this time around. Ricardo van der Ende catching. Is he close enough to make a move on Duncan Houseman to take the lead? He's having a look down the inside. No, he's not close enough, but next lap, if he can gain another car length, he will be able to pull out and really make Duncan Houseman think. But then again, think how many years of experience both of these racers have. They're going to have to, if they hold their line in the lead of the race, they should be able to stay there. Hendrik Still catching them in the background, but in fact the first part of the lap not as quick as he was last time around. If anything, in fact, he's slightly falling back, so that just shows the pace this lead duo are running at. Very, very strong drivers and putting up a fantastic performance. So let's take a look at these cars as they go down the straight, and Ricardo van der Ende is one who, wow, he lifts the front wheel as he goes around some of the corners. I commented early on, you can see him kicking up the dust again. What you have the racing line, then you have the Ricardo van der Ende line. They don't necessarily tally because he puts a sort of half a car width more over the curb than Duncan Houseman ahead of him. Again, clonking the curb there at turn 1, going through turn 2 on the inside. He's putting so much pressure on Duncan Houseman. Again, he's just tighter as he goes around the corner. So is that his driving style, or has he just got a better handling car? But now Duncan Houseman trying to respond and block off any inside lines being taken or just applied by Ricardo van der Ende. So great to have this car running today after its disappointment yesterday. Simon Knapp, all he can do is run around in 4th place, chased by Jelle Bielen. So Jörg Wiebahn there in the Aston Martin, now being chased by the Pro Sport Porsche Cayman of Simon Krebs, suffering for that moment he had down at turn 13. In fact, he's way off the tail of Jelle Bielen's Camaro, so he's lost a lot more ground after that moment. And now looking around the outside, anywhere he can possibly look, Ricardo van der Ende through the kink at turn 8. There just isn't enough space. Then you have to do the double left-handers. Turn 9, as you can see them going through, getting a bit tail-happy there. The Camaro in the lead of the race. Ricardo van der Ende really, really pushing Duncan Houseman. They go behind the old pits there, you can see, and taking the outside line, which isn't the attacking line. Ricardo van der Ende just trying something different at every corner through turns 11 and 12, trying to get the power down, using the curbs lightly as they accelerate towards the penultimate corner of the lap. But still, it's Duncan Houseman leading the way in the Chevrolet Camaro, number 96, ahead of the black Ford Mustang, number 1. 0.29 of a second was the gap between them on the start-finish line last time. I think we're in for much the same, or is it going to be a fraction lower? It's half a car length. It's 0.118 of a second. Now going into the first corner, no chance of overtaking. Again, the front wheel's coming up on the Mustang, the front inside wheel. Turns left. He then turns right through turn 2, tries to get the power hard down. He couldn't be any closer without touching Duncan Houseman as they fight for the lead of this race. Still 43 minutes remaining, by the way. So looking down the order, we can see it's Chevrolet Camaro from Ford Mustang. Right behind them, you've got Hendrik still closing in last time around in his yellow Sin. Fourth place, Simon Knapp in his BMW there. You can see the rear of the car, Deloitte sponsorship, and then Jelle Bielen in the second Camaro. This time it's half a car length between the leader and the chaser, and Ricardo van der Ende looks to his right, but then quite legitimately Duncan Houseman moves that way again, but he's left the door open this time, so change of lead, that bit closer this time going down the back straight, and Ricardo van der Ende has made it pay, going through the kink at turn 8, no problem at all. Now the big black Mustang in the lead, now the roles have been reversed. Can Duncan Houseman fight back? Again cocking that inside front wheel. Ricardo van der Ende is really giving absolutely everything in the number 1. So Equus Motorsport also running a BMW, Simon Knapp's BMW that's running in 4th place, but their Mustang doing the job at the front, certainly in the hands of Ricardo van der Ende. So let's give you some gaps. Last time around it was 0.118 of a second between Houseman and van der Ende. We can see the positions have been reversed and pulling away. The black Mustang crosses the start-finish line. The gap is just under a second to Duncan Houseman, and almost identical gap of just under a second back to Hendrik Still in the yellow Sin. Simon Knapp in 4th place in his BMW. Jelle Bielen in 5th, 2 seconds down on him, and then about a 5-second gap back to Jörg Wiebahn. So the performance of the Aston Martin not so good today, certainly upset by that moment when he ran off the circuit at turn 13. And that last lap, once he got into the leads, Ricardo van der Ende set 2 purple sectors out of the 3 sectors of the lap. The 2 sectors where he was ahead, and he's just set a purple sector for the first part of the lap. So he's now 10 car lengths clear of Duncan Houseman as they go down the back straight. What's happening right now is the fact that Simon Knapp on this lap is starting to close in on the yellow Sin for 3rd place. Knapp still 4th for Equus Motorsport, but going way off the circuit at turn 7, out braking himself and then being hit as he rejoined the circuit by Hendrik Still. All went wrong for Ricardo van der Ende, looked to come back on the circuit. He came right back in front of Hendrik Still, who was entering the corner in 3rd place. So back into the lead goes Duncan Houseman, and the Mustang is back on behind the 2nd Camaro of Jelle Bielen. So the order is now Duncan Houseman, Simon Knapp, Jelle Bielen, and here's a replay. Far, far, far off the track. Safety car is out. Not a replay, that's further round. I think we have a complete loss of brakes there so I thought that was a replay, but that would explain why he went so far off at turn 7 and he got to a little bit further round the lap. I would think that's turn 11 where he's gone straight on, having rejoined, and the safety car is out, just moving away from the start-finish line. So the order, Houseman, Knapp, and van der Ende, but not really. So there's Hendrik Still's Sin. I'd like to see a replay of the moment when the Mustang came back on, but it's a narrowish bit of track down at turn 7, and he was in a battle of his own, Hendrik Still, being pushed by Simon Knapp's BMW as they went down to the hairpin at the end of the back straight. There was contact between the black Mustang and the yellow Sin. The yellow Sin parked at the side of the circuit, and a few corners later, here's a replay now. So way clear, as I said, he was 10 car lengths clear going down the back straight, and there's precious little braking going on there for the Mustang. Just goes out of shot, but he manages to, so he's got partial braking, turn it around, rejoin the circuit, side-on contact there with the yellow Sin. The yellow Sin got parked. The black Mustang with Ricardo van der Ende came back onto the circuit in 3rd place. And then Jelle Bielen in the 2nd Camaro comes down and is able to go through the kink at turn 8 and go ahead of him. And then just further around the lap, when they came behind the old pits, down at turn 11, the Mustang went straight on. So it didn't finish yesterday, it didn't finish today. Light still flashing on the window saying 2nd place, but obviously that's on the start-finish straight. They get adjusted. So waved yellows down at turn 7. A dramatic race. It looked as though Ricardo van der Ende had done a fantastic job to work his way ahead of Duncan Houseman to take the lead ahead of the V8 Racing Camaro, and was just rocketing clear, having taken the lead just 1 lap earlier, but then it all went wrong down at turn 7. So the order now is Houseman in the 96 Camaro, Simon Knapp 2nd in the BMW, number 8, Jelle Bielen 3rd in the 69 Camaro, Jörg Wiebahn, who'd had his problems earlier on in the Aston Martin, 4th, and the 18 Porsche Cayman, Simon Krebs, up to 5th place. Well, trying to debate what it would have been there for Ricardo van der Ende. He'd really been pushing very hard, and perhaps it could have been boiling brake fluid, because his lap times were very quick the previous few laps, and he was pulling clear, so he can't have had any problems at the start of the lap. He'd set a purple sector time in sector 1 down the end of the back straight, and it certainly would have been an eye-opening moment for the very experienced van der Ende. He did manage to get back onto the track without hitting anything, and that was the point at which he did hit something, because Hendrik still came into contact with him as they were going past the apex of the hairpin. So, as the cars go round behind the safety car, trying to keep some heat in, let's have another look. You can see a huge distance clear of Duncan Houseman. He was behind him the lap before. That was the point at which he'd taken the lead. Just enough braking to get the car back towards the circuit, and then side-on contact with Hendrik Still's Sin, which is parked up now against the concrete wall around the outside. It looks as though he's got that Van der Ende has got away with it. He then goes around the next couple of corners just being passed by Jelle Bielen's Camaro. Go through turns 8, 9 and 10. They're going behind the old pits, coming along behind the pits into the tight right-hander, and nothing doing at all. No brakes left at all for Ricardo van der Ende. Very well positioned gravel trap there. Van der Ende out of the race. Hendrik Still out of the race. So 2 cars out of the 12 starters out of this race. Safety car still circulating. Still 36 minutes of racing to be undertaken. Yesterday it came good for the Chevrolet Camaros, and it's looking as though it's coming their way all over again. The blue BMW at the back of the order there, Lisette Brahms, the number 4 Las Moras Racing entry. There's the very good looking Porsche Cayman, number 18, driven by Simon Krebs at the moment in 5th place. Thomas Krebs, I beg your pardon. Simon Knapp is his team. Arno Klaassen, his teammate. Sorry, Thomas Krebs, getting too excited here. Flags still being waved around the circuit, the yellow flags, the yellow notice board there, SC, that's the safety car. Now it's good to see that the Hendrik Still Sin is being removed from the exit of turn 7. Very narrow bit of circuit there, and that will be pulled off out of the way as soon as it can be. There's the remaining Sin, that's Grigor Grigoriev down in 9th place. Was running 11th, but with Van der Ende and Hendrik Still being removed from the running, up he goes 2 positions. There's the frontal damage. I'm not sure if that was all against the Mustang, or the Mustang a little bit, and then a bit more against the wall when he hit on the outside. But a sorry sight for Hendrik Still there and the Sofia Car Motorsport team. Being dragged clear. So it's Chevrolet from BMW, from Chevrolet from Aston Martin and Porsche. And then in 6th place we have Pavel Lefterov in the number 6 Lotus Evora. So plenty of chassis variety down this field, just waiting for the safety car to be withdrawn, and it's coming in this lap. There's the message on the top of the screen, safety car in this lap. We have 8 laps completed. Yesterday we managed 31 laps, I beg your pardon, in the 50-minute race, but today you can imagine we won't be getting in as many. Track conditions fabulous here at the circuit. Paul Armagnac in Nogaro. Perfect day for racing. A light breeze blowing across the 2 straights, the back straight and the pit straight, blowing into the face of the pits, if you will, but not the sort of wind, not the direction of wind that will affect people's acceleration or braking down the straights. And now some of the secondary drivers getting ready to take their role in this race. It's a 2-driver race. Some drivers are driving solo, but they have to stop for the same amount of time as those who make a pit stop for a driver change. So no advantage driving solo. And yesterday we certainly saw an injection of pace when Duncan Houseman took over the 96 Camaro. He was nowhere near the lead, but he kept on picking off the cars ahead of him, and then with a handful of laps to go, he made his way past teammate Marcel Noren. And here we have the restart. So it's Simon Knapp trying to tuck in behind the Camaro, with the second Camaro in behind him as they run down to turn 1, and Knapp certainly under braking, closed in that little bit onto the Camaro. He hasn't let Duncan Houseman get away at the restart. The first 6, 7 cars. 7th place is Andre Grammatico, French racer, in his BMW, trying to stay with the pack. This was his chance. The safety car has certainly helped him. Now hitting the curbs and running a little bit wide there was Duncan Houseman, allowing Simon Knapp to close in on him, and there they are through the twisty part of the circuit. They're going through turn 5, the left-hander, then they'll have the right-hander at turn 6, and then there it is, going through turn 6 now and using all that big American muscle horsepower, opening out it was 2 car lengths when they went into turn 5. It's 6, 7, 8 car lengths between them now, and the second Camaro trying to make a move to second place. Looks as though he can do it, but he's on the outside line. Jelle Bielen will have to wait until another lap. Simon Knapp holds on to second place in the Ecris BMW. Number 8 there, but it won't be long, I don't think, until Jelle Bielen will use the extra horsepower that he enjoys to move up into second place for a Chevrolet 1-2. It was a Chevrolet 1-2 yesterday, 96 ahead of 69. 69 led a lot of the race after Hendrik Still had set the early pace in his yellow Sin. He fell back to 6th place overall, but the Camaros were good, but the best of all was the run in the 96 Camaro for Duncan Houseman, moving through to victory. He won in the end by 5.4 seconds, but it was his fight that really excited as he worked his way up the order. But Simon Knapp, who will be handing over to Rob Severs later in the race, he finished 4th yesterday, looks quite well set to finish rather better today, but you do think it's going to be 3rd place, not 2nd. So there's the gap on the start-finish line, 3/4 of a second between Duncan Houseman in the 96 Camaro and Simon Knapp in the BMW, running a little bit wide there early in the lap. As you can see, the first part of the circuit, that's turn 4, longest right-hander, sort of 2-part right-hander if you will, going down into turn 5, a rather tighter left-hander, and then that's the point you put the power down to get onto the back straight. How close is Jelle Bielen to the back of the BMW? 2, possibly 3 car lengths, probably 2 car lengths, they come onto the back straight. Race leader's gone, and now this is the point at which Jelle Bielen is trying to use all the slipstream he can get behind the BMW. This time he's going to the outside again. Does he have the power to get any further ahead? No, he doesn't. The way he needs to go is up the inside, but Simon Knapp being very, very canny indeed. He's saying if you want it, you've got to go the long way. I'm covering the inside. Quite within his rights to do so, and doing it very well, but Jelle Bielen all but pushing the car through turns 9 and 10. Now they've got the little kinked straight behind the old pits, the old control tower. They're not really letting Duncan Houseman get away too much, but this is the opportunity for Duncan. He's not fighting anyone. Oh, was there a little push there for Simon Knapp, or did he outbrake himself? Yes, we think there's a bit of a tap. Just push you past your braking point, monsieur. And so it's Camaros 1 and 2. Jelle Bielen, will he be able to pull free now? He probably would. Let's have a little replay. They're not touching, and they are touching. So obviously just pushing Simon Knapp. Great slow-mo replay there. And Simon will be very frustrated because by track position he was able to stay ahead of the Camaro, but I think the second Camaro now will be able to adopt the inside line into turn 7 when they get to the end of the back straight. But frankly, with the extra horsepower, he's just going to pull clear. So very frustrating for Simon. We'll have to see what teammate Rob Severs can do when he takes over, but it's Camaro 96 in the lead of the race. Camaro number 69, Jelle Bielen at the wheel after that little bit of a kiss down at turn 11 into second place. So Camaro, that's a foreshortened view as you look down the long back straight. They're sort of further apart than they appear in that image. 5, 6, yes, you can see it's about 6 car lengths between first and second, 10 car lengths back to Simon Knapp, getting smaller in the mirror of the Camaros. There's the Pro Sport Porsche. Porsche came in number 18 with Krebs at the wheel. That's Thomas Krebs. Back of the order there, the blue BMW Las Maras Racing is Lisette Brahms. In 10th place out of the 10 remaining runners. We have the pit window open, so who's going to be the early one to pit? You'll feel that Duncan Houseman will stay out for as long as he dares before the pit window closes, before handing over to Luke Brahms. He's in the lead of the race, he's setting the pace, seems to have everything under control, but what he needs to do now is open out as much of a gap as he possibly can. At the moment it's only 1.5 seconds over his teammate Jelle Bielen, using the curbs nicely there through turn 14 to start another lap. Has he extended that lead? No, he hasn't. It's more than 1/10 of a second has been taken off as Jelle Bielen chases after the far more experienced Duncan Houseman. And the gap back to third place, as you can see, is about another 1.6, 1.7 seconds to Simon Knapp's BMW. First pit visitor from the front end of the field is the number 18 Pro Sport Performance Porsche Cayman. Thomas Krebs will hand over now to Arno Klaassen. It's a nice clear pit lane for them. Pit stops don't have to be too hurried at all, but with only 12 cars in the race, starting the race, and only 10 cars still in the race, plenty of space for the Pro Sport Performance team to do their pit stop and get Arno Klaassen into the car and then back into the race. So let's just refresh your memory. You can see the BMW coming into number 8, coming into turn 7, chased by Jörg Wiebahn. What were their lap times last time around? No, Simon Knapp still has the legs on him. 2.7 seconds was the gap between 3rd and 4th. And Andre Grammatico there is now up to 6th place in the number 9 BMW. It's Bas Banvinuka car. Really pushing Pavel Lefterov's Lotus there. Grammatico will be running solo, and so will Lefterov in the 6. So no likely change of pace for those cars, because of course we get the change of pace when the second driver takes over, whether faster or slower than their teammate. But if you're going solo, your pace is your pace. But who's going to preserve their tyres best? That's also a question. Gap between 1st and 2nd, another 1/3 of a second has been taken off. So Jelle Bielen really enjoying his run at the moment. 4th place still the Aston Martin, Pavel Lefterov's black Lotus 5th, and chased still by Andre Grammatico's white BMW number 9. That's the top 6. Daniel Ackermann is up to 7th at the moment by dint of not having pitted, and Grigor Grigoriev in the number 11 Sin is up to 8. Those behind them have pitted. And there's Lisette Brahms in the pit, should be rejoining very soon. Again, no great hurry in pit stops. They have a minimum time, which is 1 minute. They will use every second of that minute to their utmost advantage. Lisette Brahms, one of the handful of drivers who are running solo. So which of these Chevrolets is going to come in first to the pits? There's only 1.1 second between them on the start-finish line the last time around. Jelle Bielen still just squeaking a little bit here and a little bit there as he gets closer and closer to Duncan Houseman. Duncan will hand over to Luke Brahms, and Jelle Bielen will hand over to Marcel Noren. I think both of them are going to go right to the end of the pit window before they come in. 2 of the 10 runners have made their pit stops. That's Lisette Brahms in the blue BMW and Arno Klaassen in the number 18 Cayman. See the crew chief there with the pit stop, with the stopwatch on the right hand side of the screen. Lisette Brahms waiting to be given the thumbs up to go, and powers away from right beneath my commentary position. Gap between 1st and 2nd, it was 1.1 second. It's not now. Half a second has been taken off that now. 0.655 of a second for Jelle Bielen. Not much time left for him to make his move before the pit stop window will close, but he's proving a point here. Duncan Houseman got past his teammate Marcel Noren yesterday, his co-driver Marcel Noren, and this time Jelle Bielen able to take the fight right to Duncan Houseman in this race. Maybe a lot of pride was lost yesterday. Their pride was dented when Marcel Noren couldn't hold off Duncan Houseman in the closing laps of the race. Coming up behind the Pro Sport, the Porsche that had made its pit stop down the back straight, and Duncan Houseman able to pull past before they get into turn 7. Will Jelle Bielen be able to do so as well? Well, he hasn't made the move yet, but now he has. He braked very late, well driven by Arno Klaassen. Stayed out of the way, not a lot of track space there, managed not to affect this lead battle, so Jelle Bielen will be very pleased indeed that he didn't get delayed or stymied in any way down at turn 7. Great job done by the Pro Sport Porsche driver Arno Klaassen to stay out of the way. So the battle between 1st and 2nd, half a second it was 0.6 of a second on the start line. It's about the same now. A big slide there from Duncan Houseman in the lead. Jelle Bielen a little tidier through turns 11 and 12. Through turn 13, that's where the Aston Martin went wide very early in the race. Turn 14, negotiated 0.655. It's now 0.392 of a second, 0.4 of a second between Houseman in the lead and Jelle Bielen chasing so hard in the 69 Camaro. Almost as one. 3rd place, Simon Knapp has come into the pits. Jörg Wiebahn, therefore. And there is Simon Knapp getting out of the number 8 BMW, handing over to Rob Severs. So Aston Martin into 3rd place, taking a look up the inside through turn 4. Jelle Bielen couldn't make it stick. Now they negotiating their way round to get onto the back straight. Duncan Houseman 2-3 car lengths clear as they go down the back straight. I don't think Bielen is close enough. He's gained 1 or 2 car lengths as he sits in the slipstream, not close enough, but I think he quite fancies his chances for a very late duck out. No, he doesn't. To try and take the inside line into turn 1, but he's really making Houseman earn his corn this Easter Monday here at Nogaro, pushing him. I really fancy Duncan Houseman to get away at the start of the race, but I'm very impressed indeed by the pace and the guile we've seen so far from Jelle Bielen. Yes, he gave Simon Knapp a tap in his BMW down at turn 11, but he's driving very well indeed. And there goes the BMW that had the tap. That's the Equus Motorsport number 8 entry, with Rob Severs taking over from Simon Knapp. That had been third. Of course, the first two still have to pit, as does Jörg Wiebahn in the Aston Martin, number 10. Better end of the lap there for Duncan Houseman. The gap would have gone out for sure. 0.6 of a second was lost that time around by Jelle Bielen. I didn't see really where he lost it. He possibly lost a bit down at turn 7. Andre Grammatico running a rather dramatic line down through turns 1 and 2. Got it all together. The Aston Martin is now into the pits, which just leaves the Chevrolets to do their business. And I think this time around will probably be the point at which they make their pit visit. Yes, co-drivers coming in off the pit wall, looking to take over. So Luke Brahms ready to take over one of them, and Marcel Noor on the other. That was Marcel coming across from the pit wall. Opening part of the lap. Maybe Jelle Bielen's taken a bit much out of his tyres because Duncan Houseman is starting to pull away again. He got down to next to nothing, 0.39 of a second. It's out last time around to 0.9 of a second. And the first part of the lap, another 0.2 of a second gained, and then a further 1/10 of a second. So almost a third of a second gained on the opening part of this lap by Duncan Houseman, our race leader. Sign at the top of our screen saying pit window open. The first two cars, the Chevrolet Camaros, very little between them, but they are the two that have yet to pit in this race. Who's going to blink first? And the race leader comes in, Duncan Houseman comes in, Jelle Bielen also a late swerve. They were right at the end of the pit window, and the both Camaros, the V8 Racing entries coming. Oh, Jelle Bielen actually clipped the tyres on the way in the tail of the more orange Camaro that's pulling second into your picture there. Wouldn't have delayed him at all, but a bit of a scare. Shows how finely he was cutting it. Jelle Bielen out, putting off his radio lead, and in goes Marcel Noor, folding himself in. You don't have to hurry too much these pit stops. Duncan Houseman out of the car with which he started the race. Luke Brahms being strapped in. The pit stops don't have to be too hurried, but you could see there how Jelle Bielen tried to cut whatever corner he could coming into the pit lane. Just clipped the tyres on his right-hand side, bounced the tail around a little. I doubt if there was any damage at all done to either of them. Now here's they come into the pits. Late entry, no problem at all for Duncan Houseman. Look for the orange car, just take a little bounce around his right rear wheel, just clipped, beautifully caught by the camera's crews there. So the big Camaros sit ticking in the pit lane. Luke Brahms taking over the number 96 entry, and Marcel Noren, the one that's sitting right behind it, about as close as they were on the track when they were racing, down off the jacks, waiting to go. Jörg Wiebahn is leading the rest of the cars out on the circuit, but the Camaros will join in front. And it looks so perhaps a little half car length gained in the pit stop there. But anyhow, they close up as they exit under the speed limit, go down the end of the pit lane and get over the white line, and they can start accelerating again at that very moment as they go to turn 2. Here is the battle for second place as they come onto the circuit. Coming onto start-finish straight, Jörg Wiebahn's Aston Martin, and the number 8 entry of Rob Severs right on its tail there. So it's as it was before the pit stops. We have Camaros 1 and 2. Then we have, this time though, the orders as it's shaken out. Jörg Wiebahn driving solo is now into third. Rob Severs in the BMW fourth. Jelle Bielen there, he deserves a drink. That was a very good drive from him. Just lost out slightly in the final laps, but he had shown his pace to close right onto the tail of the race-leading 96 entry, the sister car from V8 Racing. Looking at the gap between them as first Luke Brahms and then Marcel Noren get the feel of the cars under braking at the end of the back straight. Now they've got the rest of this race to go, 18.5 minutes. Which one of these is going to win? Or is anybody else? You have to say on sheer pace, the Chevrolet Camaros are the cars to beat. And I suppose it just comes down to whether Marcel Noren can drive as well as he did yesterday, or Luke Brahms can show a very, very strong hand. You can see, if anything, the gap is pretty much as it was before they came in for their pit stops. And hopefully the number 69 entry with Marcel Noren at the wheel didn't suffer any damage from his little contact with the tyres just as it came into pit entry. Car's looking good, sounding fantastic. Great liveries on these big Camaros, and a very tidy line there from Luke Brahms going onto the start-finish straight. Let's see the gap, 1.236 seconds. They're not the fastest laps, and now looks as though the number 11 Sin is in trouble. That's just been taken over by Ivalia Tsonev, having been started by Grigor Grigoriev, and it's running down in last position, but we'll look to see if there's any change there. So the order: Luke Brahms, Marcel Noren in the Camaros, Jörg Wiebahn driving solo in the Aston Martin, and then Rob Severs in the number 8 BMW. That's the story of the race. Of course, we lost 2 of the challengers early on. We had outbraking himself into the end of the back straight, Ricardo van der Ende in the number 1 Mustang. He then rejoined the circuit. There was immediately contact with the 3rd place Sin, the yellow 71 Sin with Hendrik Still, that was then parked up. Oh. Marcel Noren is getting closer into turn 7, and then 3-4 corners later, Ricardo van der Ende completely ran out of brakes and parked the black Mustang in the gravel, failed to turn the corner at all at turn 11. Out came the safety car. Jelle Bielen very kindly has his name with several points on his chest. He's done a good job down. He's been very much enjoying his Easter weekend down here at Nogaro. He's, now, if he's looking out, the gap is coming right down as Marcel Noren is pushing Luke Brahms very, very hard indeed as they come round out of turn 11 and 12. Past the old pits, they've got the right-hander followed by the left-hander onto the start-finish straight. It was 1.2 seconds last time around. Looks like it's come down to under half a second, and Marcel Noren must really fancy his chances. So, 96 leads onto lap 19. What's the gap between first and second? 0.2 of a second, a fifth of a second. Even looking up the inside as Jelle Bielen looks on, cocking a wheel. Now on the right-hand side of your screen is Marcel Noren, but it's the wrong place to be. You needed to be on the left side, the inside, running wide over the curbs and beyond. Marcel Noren has to go the whole way around to the outside. Luke Brahms isn't going to let him in, twitching as they consider how they might turn into turn 4. And look how Jörg Wiebahn, driving solo, has caught up with this battle. Pulled in a huge number of seconds. He's now gone around the outside into second place, but he won't negotiate turn 5, 2 wheels on the grass. He could have lost third place in that challenge to try and get split the Chevrolet Camaros, and behind them Rob Severs is thinking, hey, this is coming to me as well, let me have part of the fight. So here we go, lap 19 going down the back straight, probably only 2 seconds covering the top 4 cars in this fantastic second race of the GT4 European Series, but looking to maybe outbrake the race leader and go up the inside, and he does it. Marcel Noren takes the lead, Luke Brahms runs wide, and Jörg Wiebahn fancies another go to see if he can just get into second place. Through the little kink at turn 8, now he's on the wrong line when they get to turn 9 and 10, the 2 left-handers. And it's quite slow through the second part of the corner there was Luke Brahms, allowing the Aston Martin to get back onto his tail. And Rob Severs in the BMW now is also right in the mix, almost 3 abreast as they go behind the old pit buildings. Aston Martin goes into second place, and I think on the exit of the corners they go through turn 12. Yes, the BMW makes it stick as well, so suddenly it's not Camaros 1 and 2, it's Camaros 1 and 4, Aston Martin in 2, BMW in 3. What a fantastic race. Not a lot of cars on the grid here today, 12 starters, 10 cars still in the race, but the front 4 covered by next to nothing. Fabulous. So Marcel Noren, the new leader of the race, 1.2 seconds clear, a third of a second between Wiebahn's Aston Martin and Severs' BMW, then almost a second back to Luke Brahms. He's got to get his head down. Doesn't seem to have the handle on the big Camaro in the way that new race leader Marcel Noren does. Now let's see, can the Aston Martin hunt it down? And certainly the third place BMW looking very feisty indeed. He's right in the mix. So in the second part of the race, just looking at their laps last time around, the fastest of that group by a big margin was Rob Severs at 1 minute 38.9. Down the back straight, the Aston Martin, though, is only a car length behind the Camaro. You can hardly see it. There was a terrible exit from turn 6, lost a lot of the momentum. Yes, he has the horsepower. Now the Aston Martin with the German racer, Jörg Wiebahn, is in the wrong position. He's on the outside of the line of the Camaro. Can he tuck up the inside? He almost can. Almost, though, isn't quite close enough, but he tries it through the kink. But he's on the outside line again, as he was last time around, into turn 9. Again, he's staying wide to try and get a faster exit out of turn 10 to attack behind the old pits. He certainly has the superior handling to the Camaro. as they get towards the latter stage of this race, going into turn 11, but he's got to watch where he's going. He's looking for the inside line. It worked last time around through turn 12. Any slip up from him, and Rob Severs will challenge in the BMW. The first three could be covered by the proverbial blanket. Fantastic, fantastic racing here. Marcel Noren hanging on, but for how much longer will we have a Chevrolet Camaro in the lead of this race? It looked before the pit stops, Duncan Houseman chased by Jelle Bielen, it would be Camaros all the way to the flag. Now it's looking anything but a definite that will happen. Again, clipping the inside, turning in far better is the Aston Martin. You do start to feel the rather heavier Chevrolet Camaros have been eating their tyres, and now they're paying the price. Driven very hard in the first part of the race, and now Marcel Noren and Luke Brahms having to hang on up the inside through turn 4. Can he turn in enough to be on the right line for turn 5? So his nose is in front in the Aston Martin, but Wiebahn in the wrong position. But now he's in the right position. He's on the right, the inside of the right hand onto the back straight, but he's had to be pushed a little wide. He went on the dirt off the track, slightly rejoined the track. Still only 2 car lengths behind as they go down the back straight. Marcel Noren hanging on for life, but they've got the 70, they've got the number 70, the green Sin, up ahead of them. I don't know where they're going to catch it. Ooh, probably actually towards the end of the lap, but this is also allowing Luke Brahms to get his head down and catch up with this group. He'd fallen away in 4th place, but as you can see, he's not that far behind the BMW. Number 8 BMW driven by Rob Severs. But look, almost every corner the Aston Martin is challenging race leader Marcel Noren behind the whole pits. Hopefully the Sin is a lot slower, but has backed off, and well driven by Ivailo Tsonev in the green Sin. He kept out of the way. He hasn't spoilt this battle, and as you can imagine, attention on the pit wall absolutely wrapped on this lead battle, and Luke Brahms trying to stay with the Tello. It doesn't seem to have the pace, but as these others slow themselves down in their battle, still the second Chevrolet can stay pretty much in the group. You can't see the Aston Martin unless he ducks one side, then the other. 0.245 of a second, the gap between first and second place. Driver penalties. Car 69, I'm afraid Marcel Noren has got a 5-second penalty to be added after the race. You can see the message on the top of the screen, but he's now lost that position. As I looked at the timing screens just to check the details, he's gone from 1st to 3rd in the space of a couple of corners. So it's Aston Martin now leading the race. The Chevrolet dream of a Chevrolet double looks as though it's gone out of the window, and still 10 and a bit minutes of this race remaining. So car 69. Now, was that when Marcel Noren was at the wheel, or was it when Jelle Bielen was giving chase? And perhaps that was when he gave a little tap up the rear of the 8 BMW in the early part of the race down at turn 11, where he pushed Simon Knapp just past the braking point and grabbed what turned out to be second place at the time. Now contact. Turn 7, the Aston Martin hit by the BMW. Race leader Jörg Wiebahn has been spun around, so it's Chevrolet's back into first and second places in this race. Marcel Noren now leading from Luke Brahms. The Aston Martin rejoins. It looks as though Jörg Wiebahn will have dropped down to about 5th place. It'd be interesting to see a replay of that, but he'd been setting the pace, pulling clear. Was it 30 seconds ago I said the Chevrolet dream of a second 1-2 was out of the window? Well, it's back in. And Rob Severs, after the contact with the Aston Martin, oh, dearie me, the number 8 BMW parked at the side of the circuit. What disappointment. Great races run by Rob Severs and Simon Knapp. Let's have a look at a replay. So the BMW being challenged very hard indeed for second place. Aston Martin minding its own business, but just not enough braking at all, using the Aston Martin to brake. So total blame has to go, I'm afraid, to Rob Severs there. His enthusiasm in trying to hold on to second place led to him torpedoing the race-leading Jörg Wiebahn. So dreadful luck the second day running for Wiebahn. The number 8 Ecris Motorsport BMW M3 out of the race. Hazard lamps going. A little bit of bodywork damage. I don't think it was a big hit down at turn 7, but it was enough to knock the Aston Martin out of the way and take himself out of the race. So after that sudden sort out, Luke Brahms leading the race. He's going down the back straight. Marcel Noren in second place, so the 96 car really gained in all of that sort out down at turn 7. Andre Grammatico, we haven't really spoken much about him, is now up to 3rd place in the number 9 BMW. And Arno Klaassen there is holding on to 4th just in his Porsche, just ahead of Pavel Lefterov in the black Lotus Evora GT4. That's 5th. Daniel Ackermann is now 6th in the 2nd of the Lotus Evoras, sent by Zavotec Racing. You can see it's the white one in the background, going past the stranded BMW that had been challenging for second place, hit the race leader and lost big time. So Luke Brahms leading in 96. Could it be 2 wins in 2 days for the 96 Camaro? But the lead over Marcel Noren, 1.175 seconds. Very little, still plenty of time, but we do know their tyres starting to feel the heat here at Nogaro. Rob Severs being escorted away to a place of safety from where he's parked the Ecris Motorsport BMW. So what had been looking like a very tidy race, and it was likely to come more to them. BMW's lighter on their tyres than the Camaros, probably the Aston Martin as well, but no chance to exploit that advantage in the closing laps. Gap between first and second down to 0.9 of a second, as you can see on your screens. Pavel Lefterov in the Black Lotus really fancying his chances of getting past Arno Klaassen for 4th place in that Porsche Cayman. And you can see really not far ahead of them is Andre Grammatico's BMW, about 1.5 seconds clear of them. And then really not far up the road ahead of them are the pair of Camaros going down the back straight. First 3, yeah, fairly evenly spaced. Slightly bigger gap, in fact, from second to third. But Luke Brahms started the race yesterday. He's outbraked himself going down into turn 7. It seems to be becoming a bit of disease. He's managed to get back on. He's probably about to be passed for second place by Andre Grammatico, but he's got going again. So the order changes yet again. Marcel Noren into the lead of the race. And Luke Brahms now has his mirrors full of Andre Grammatico, the French driver, very keen to get on the podium on home ground here at Nogaro. So we saw braking problems early in the race by Ricardo van der Ende in his Ford Mustang when he had just taken the lead. He went off at turn 7, rejoined and clashed with the Sin of Hendrik Still. And then 3-4 corners later, no brakes at all for the big Mustang, and that went off. Now I think we're starting to see a combination of brake wear and tyre wear starting to trouble the much heavier Chevrolet Camaros. Andre Grammatico right on the tail now of Luke Brahms as they start their 26th lap. Battle for 4th place, very, very tight indeed. There's the Camaro and the BMW fighting over second and third and getting closer and closer to them, and equally right together are the Porsche there and the Lotus Evora of Pavel Lefterov fighting over 4th and 5th. Only driver in this top 5 who's left to his own devices, 2.3 seconds clear, is Marcel Noren in the 69 Camaro. That's the one with the orange stripes up the side, the blue stripes, and the second place Camaro of Luke Brahms. Luke Brahms really struggling for pace now. You can see just a train of cars in his wake as they go down the back straight. How are his brakes this time around? Let's take a look. He's probably going to be far more circumspect going into turn 7. He manages to haul it down, but Grammatico in 3rd place has got Klaassen right behind him on his rear wing. Likewise, Lefterov, and now Daniel Ackermann in the 16 Lotus in 6th place is right with them, and not far behind him is Jörg Wiebahn trying to recover, having been knocked out of the lead down at turn 7 3 or 4 laps ago. Checking Wiebahn's pace last time around. He was the fastest driver on the circuit by over a second, so he'll be gaining places. And there goes the Aston Martin driver going inside Ackermann's Lotus for 6th. And he was 7 seconds down on race leader Marcel Noren's Chevrolet Camaro on the start-finish line. The clock will count against him, but he should be able to gain a few more places. Probably 1 a lap for the rest of the race. May yet get up to about 4th place. Let's see. He was the innocent party in that battle down at turn 7. He was hit, taken out. But the Aston Martin's been looking very handy this weekend. Luke Brahms still being pushed all the way by Andre Grammatico. Again, Chevrolet running a little bit wide, and the BMW just that bit more wieldy through the corners is now starting to fancy his, whenever there's half a gap, he's taking a look, and the field bunching up behind, and certainly down the back straight. Expect the number 10 Aston Martin of Jörg Wiebahn. He's up to 6th at the moment. Will pick off 1, perhaps 2 of those ahead of him. Let's have a look. As they go round turn 5, they've got the right-hander onto the back straight. This is the battle, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. And clear of them by about 3 seconds is the race leader. Aston Martin is right in the slipstream of Lefterov's Lotus. He could gain 2 places, or even go up the middle and gain 3 places down into the hairpin at the end of the back straight. The Porsche's inside him, and the Pavel Lefterov's lost position there. And Wiebahn, what a positive drive from him. He's now right on the tail of Andre Grammatico, so he's now challenging for third place, and Grammatico in turn has lost ground on Luke Brahms. So maybe after all we will get that Chevrolet 1-2. 3 minutes, 18 seconds and 1 lap still to go. Jörg Wiebahn, what a great race, has to be the star of this race, I'd say. Got into the lead, was knocked out of it, and now he's really, really pushing. 7th a lap ago, now he's up to 4th place. And one thing that I'd forgotten in the heat of all this, it was just an extra chapter I was going to feed in, is that the race leader Marcel Noren should not be cruising in the lead. He's sitting on a lead last time of 3.2 seconds, it's now 2.7 seconds, but he's got the 5 seconds to add to his time penalty, and that will actually slot him into 6th place behind Pavel Lefterov, who's 4.986 seconds behind. Oh my golly, that will change the complexion. And how I'd forgotten that, or was I just saving it for the end to drop into the commentary? So, maybe it's in that case, could this race be won by Jörg Wiebahn in the Aston Martin? I think the answer is yes. He's got probably 2.5 more laps, and there's 2nd, 3rd and 4th. He's 4th on the circuit, but effectively he's running 3rd because of the time penalty for Marcel Noren in the 69 Chevrolet Camaro. That's the one with the orange bumper going down the back straight. You can hardly see the Aston Martin as it hunts down Andre Grammatico. Down the back straight, he's going to the right-hand side of your screen into 3rd position on the track. How are they going to break into the corner? He's being careful. He's been careful early in this race, taking the outside line. Doesn't manage to get past the BMW driver. Now taking a look through the little kink at turn 8. He's always been very handy through turns 9 and 10, and he's ducked up the inside through 9. Deposes the BMW driver. Beautifully done by Jörg Wiebahn. Up into 3rd place on the circuit, but he will be 2nd place in reality. 5 seconds to be added to the winning tile, the finishing time of Marcel Noren in the 69 Chevrolet Camaro. There is the Chevrolet Camaro 69 leading the way. He's got the time penalty, so the race leader is the Chemoil sponsored 96 entry, but right on his tail now is Jörg Wiebahn in the Aston Martin. Through turn 13, through turn 14, they're over the curbs as Noren leads the way. Time penalty still to be applied, and fierce battling behind by Pavel Lefterov, trying to get in the Black Lotus, trying to get past Klaassen in the orange and white Porsche Cayman. Didn't manage it into turn 1, and right behind him Daniel Ackermann closing in on him in the White Lotus. So with a 5-second penalty applied, if they'd finished on that lap, 5th place would have been gained by Marcel Noren, because he's 5.011 second ahead of Arno Klaassen's Porsche. Daniel Ackermann getting very sideways over the curb at turn 5 in his quest to get right with Pavel Lefterov. That's lost him a lot of momentum. Down the back straight they go, lights ablaze from the Aston Martin. Jörg Wiebahn goes to the outside of Luke Brahms. Luke Brahms runs deep into the corner, saying there is no chance of you getting past me. Andre Grammatico tucking in behind, but we've seen many times now how good the Aston Martin driver is through turns 9 and 10, but Brahms was wise to him there and didn't let him tuck up the inside, and then was slow. Oh, the Lotuses have clashed behind. Ackermann, I think, has clipped the rear of Pavel Lefterov, and the Black Lotus is stuck at the side of the circuit, and there is the effective pass down into turns 11 and 12, and on the outside of the circuit was the Aston Martin. Looked so he'd done enough. Now he's running wide, and the Porsche with Arno Klaassen is attacking Andre Grammatico's BMW. Those are the 4 fighting for victory. We now have 1 lap to go after this. The checkered flag will come out. The clock has run to the end of its 50-minute time, and it's 50 minutes plus 1 lap. Have we seen the best shot now from Arno Klaassen in the Porsche? Andre Grammatico tries to tuck up the inside. The Aston Martin has slowed. He's dropped out of the group. It's as though the car was timed to do 50 minutes and 50 minutes only. He just was there to challenge, to take the lead, and for the 2nd day running he's hit a problem right at the end of the race. So in all of that, Luke Brahms now set for victory, but he's got Andre Grammatico's BMW and Arno Klaassen's Porsche behind him. And he's got a 4.5 second lead. Marcel Noren has a 4.5 second lead. So this little battle, Grammatico may be able to slow Luke Brahms enough to allow Marcel Noren to share victory with Jelle Bielen. There onto the back straight for the final time. 4.5 seconds to the good at the start of that, with a 5-second penalty as race leader Marcel Noren. Luke Brahms now looks as though he's done enough to keep off that battle behind him. Grammatico being pushed so hard by Arno Klaassen, and Wiebahn pulled off at the start of that lap, and the Aston Martin looked as though he'd done all the work and would have been a truly deserved victory, but not to be. But can Marcel Noren do enough in the final half lap of this race to stretch his advantage over his teammate Luke Brahms to take victory? But he has that 5-second penalty to be added to his time at the end of the race. So as Luke Brahms has his mirrors filled with the battling Grammatico and Klaassen battle behind him, they're coming down. It's the gap over the line we're going to look at. Is that 4.5 seconds? And it's almost a change of position behind them. Oh, going very sideways through turn 13. Can Marcel Noren, who's going out over the curbs at turn 14? Here's a 5-second penalty to be applied. Is that Camaro behind him 5 seconds down? Let us find out. I think it probably is. Crossing the finish line. What's the gap? 5.63 seconds. So Marcel Noren did just enough on that final lap. Jelle Bielen will be delighted on the pit wall. What a fantastic race. Not a lot of cars for the GT4 European Series opener, but they provided more than enough racing. And that was right down to the final quarter of a lap here at Nogaro. And Marcel Noren in number 69 did just enough to take victory ahead of teammate Luke Brahms. There's Jelle Bielen. He doesn't look too sad at all. Third place at the end went to Andre Grammatico, who is just a quarter of a second down on Luke Brahms. So Chevrolet Camaros 1 and 2, BMW in third place. Arno Klaassen drove a very strong race to take fourth place in the Porsche, and Daniel Ackermann, after that little clash with the sister Lotus, took fifth place. Sixth place, having rejoined, went to Pavel Lefterov. And what happened to the number 10 Aston Martin? It looked as though with going on to what would have been the final lap, it all went wrong, and he cruised along the start-finish straight and has dropped right down the rankings, but enjoying his moment, and so he should. Door open to cool down, waving to the fans. There, in fact, there's the Chevrolet duo. In fact, we'll be looking just then at Luke Brahms in the orange, predominantly orange livery car, 96, but victory goes to the sister car. Marcel Noren doing a great job, doing just enough in that final battle. So there we are, all quiet at the end of the race, but it certainly wasn't all quiet in those final few laps. Places changing in the top six with every few seconds. Looking at a replay here, see how tight they are, and coming backwards into turn 9 after contact is Pavel Lefterov, and you have to feel that perhaps Daniel Ackermann had something to do with it in the white Lotus behind. That split them off the group and let those in front of them focus on their fight, but it really was shaping up to be a truly dramatic battle to the finish, and in fact it was a dramatic battle to the finish all the way. We had to look at the watch, look at the clocks, and see if Marcel Noren could do enough to build more than a 5-second buffer, because he had that 5-second time penalty being added, and he did. 5.63 seconds was the gap at the end. Take the 5 seconds off, just a half-second victory. And I've just seen a little notice on the screen, the drivers of car number 8, that's Rob Severs and Simon Knapp, and car 10, which is Jörg Wiebahn, to report for little talks after the race. You do rather feel that Jörg Wiebahn might have nothing to say, because he was the one who was speared down at turn 7. But job done there. Jelle Bielen goes down to greet his teammate Marcel Noren for completing a victory run for the pair of them. Great shots, blue skies, wonderful weather. What a great meeting here on Easter Monday at the circuit Paul Armagnac in Nogaro. And the GT4 European Series is going to, that's a fantastic platform on which to build their season. The season opener, 2 great races and 2 Chevrolet Camaro 1-2s. But you can see from the mix of cars that have been challenging them, the Ford Mustang that went so well in the hands of Ricardo van der Ende, that will be back to challenge them another day. And if they can work out what's causing the problems for Jörg Wiebahn in the Aston Martin, he certainly will be in the mix. A few BMW drivers right in there too, so a very competitive championship at the top. And a lot of happy drivers who've got their season underway with a bang. There's Luke Brahms just climbing out for a pat on the back. That was quite a hard race there for Luke, and just couldn't do enough as he was troubled by those behind to get close enough to take the overall victory. But he was a winner yesterday with Duncan Houseman. Today, just second place for the 96 Chevrolet Camaro crew. So fans packing to have a look, waiting for the drivers to come out to the podium. They're standing on the banking there, and the drivers really will deserve their reward. That was a lot of hard work. In the background, there's Andre Grammatico having a drink. Sorry, I beg your pardon, that's Marcel Noren. Great weather, great racing so far this weekend here. Easter weekend at the circuit, Paul Armagnac. The feature race coming up, it's the opening round of the Blancpain Sprint Series, and we had a cracking qualifying race yesterday and look forward to more action today. There is the number 8 Ecris Motorsports BMW that went out of the race after its clash at the back part of the circuit, but really has shown it has a lot of pace. But let's hear what's happening in the collection area.
Good race, André, tell me.
C'est une course, grosse bagarre, big fight.
Yeah.
So I am happy to be first in fight. So one fight in left side, one fight on right side, and go inside. And
Amazing.
always okay. Yes, amazing. For
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, Andre Grammatico certainly deserves a shake of the hand. He was one of the stars of the race, and he was one of the few who kept out of trouble and came very strong at the end to take third place in the BMW Espace Bienvenue M3. Great drive there from Grammatico. And I'm sure Max is trying to catch up with the Camaro quartet, who finished first and second for yesterday and again today, but with the order, importantly, turned around this time as Marcel Noren and Jelle Bielen, who started the car, took victory in the 69. No victory this time around for the Ecris Motorsport BMW number 8, but you do feel the pace shown here at Nogaro by Simon Knapp and Rob Severs will be quite enough to challenge next time out when the GT4 European Series heads on to round number 2. Just looking down the order, we had Chevrolets first and second, BMW third, we had Porsche fourth, Lotus fifth, Lotus sixth, BMW seventh, Jörg Wiebahn, he came to a halt in the Aston Martin, having just got in the position to perhaps take the lead of the race. He's classified 8th, and the other classified finisher was the Sin, finished by Ivalio Tsonev. With all the corner cutting, plenty of brushing work for the marshals to do. Want to get the track clean as clean can be for the next race here at Nogaro. And the next cars out on the track at 1:10 local time will be the 1 hour feature race for the Blancpain Sprint Series. Temperature rising. Spot of wine for some of the course workers. As you can see, there's still quite a brisk breeze, but the skies could not be more blue here at Nogaro on Easter Monday. Good eating and good drinking, massively important in this Armagnac region, and it's foie gras at every turn. But this circuit has attracted a lot of race fans over the years, and it's a classic Easter meeting, much as the Thruxton meeting in Britain has that same sort of feeling, but the sun that little bit warmer down here in southwest France. If you can't see the drivers, that's because they're walking their way up towards the podium. And many presentations after yesterday's race, so with a lot of local produce being handed over to them, bottles of Armagnac and so on and so forth. So you feel that there'll be more of the same, but I think the biggest prize of all was the fact that all the drivers in that race had someone to fight with almost at every turn, and they provided some fantastic, some truly wonderful racing. Huge amount of excitement for the fans here at Nogaro, who are lapped it up. Now they're moving to try perhaps another vantage point for the main race, but of course after some lunch. Long way back in for the Ecris number 8 BMW. That could have been, well, it was a challenger, could have been a challenger for victory. Looked as though it was in the right place, but not at the right time. That received a tap up the rear earlier on. Of course, Simon Knapp was given a little clunk when he was trying to turn in through turn 11, and that's led to the 5-second time penalty. That's my surmisal as to why the 69 car that went on to win the race had 5 seconds applied to its finishing time. But luckily it won by 5.6 seconds, so the time penalty mattered not at all and added that wonderful frisson of excitement in the closing laps of the race. And just enough was done by Marcel Noren as Luke Brahms had to fight, look in his mirrors the whole time to see who was attacking him next. And in doing so probably just dropped his pace that little bit. That allowed Marcel Noren to complete the starting sprint from Jelle Bielen, who chased Duncan Houseman so hard and did just enough to take victory. And the podium ceremony is about to kick off. And I will presume if they bring out in third place, it should be Andre Grammatico, who we heard from. Max caught up with him earlier, and he was loving every moment. As he said, I had drivers to my left, I had drivers to my right. It was one big fight. You're not wrong there, Andre. The fans gather at the far end of the spectator banking from where they can see the pit entry to take photographs of the drivers who will be coming out any moment now. Coupe de Pâques, Easter races 2015. Here at Nogaro, seems to be lots of jollity and celebration behind the podium, but the main celebration will come when the top 5 drivers, 2 duos in the Chevrolet Camaros that finished first and second, and lone racer Andre Grammatico, who finished third in the number 9 BMW. You almost feel as though they haven't managed to round up the drivers. One of them has escaped the organisers' lasso and got away to celebrate with his team. But with the man who's about to conduct the podium ceremony still grasping his microphone and clipboard, I'm sure they'll be with us. The wind a little gentler now, as you can see that shot of the windsock. It's certainly dropped from gusting quite strongly both yesterday, Easter Sunday, and today. We woke up this morning, and in fact driving to the circuit we could even see the Pyrenees as our southern backdrop as we drove in. So clear. Beautiful day, a very traditional, old-fashioned if you will, but that's a compliment. This circuit here at Nogaro, great races over the years, and out come our crews to celebrate. Here are winning pairs. So Andre Grammatico comes out first, then Luke Brahms and Duncan Houseman. And out comes Jelle Bielen and Marcel Noren, very happy with their morning's enterprise. Jelle goes for a Michael Schumacher-style leap on the top of the podium. Their crew comes out as well. Well done, gentlemen. Greatly deserved celebration after what an entertaining race.
Applaudissements Nogaro, merci pour ce spectacle, messieurs. Et les récompenses qui vont venir des mains de monsieur Michel Claessens, Project Manager, Competition102. Ah. D'accord, on va donner avec Max Brahms, aux couleurs justement de notre partenaire dans cette opération.
So first the Dutch national anthem, which suits very well for the top two driver duos. The Dutch crews run by V8 Racing. Trophies, they have some from yesterday, why not add some more today? And Andre Grammatico, the lone French driver in the race, he gets a trophy too. Drivers wait for their cue. You sort of guess what's coming next. And a trophy for the winning team, V8 Racing, and then it's going to be raining. So Jelle Bielen first in the race and first with the champagne, giving Luke Brahms and Duncan Houseman an earful. and getting one he deserved himself down the back of his neck. So Jelle Bielen and Marcel Noren have the biggest smiles on their face after a fantastic second race, the opening round of the GT4 European Series here at Nogaro. Andre Grammatico so much more dignified with his champagne spraying. So where would one start with this race? It was Duncan Houseman leading away from the right-hand side of your screen to take the lead in the 96 Chevrolet Camaro. Looks as though he had things under control, but Simon Knapp chased him very, very hard indeed. 12 cars in the field, hugely exciting, but picking his way up through the order was Ricardo van der Ende, and he got into second place in the black Mustang. Hunted down Duncan Houseman. You could see clipping every corner he possibly could, cutting the shortest route around the circuit, front wheel rising up. Third place then was taken by Hendrik Still in the yellow Sin. He had a role to play later on, and then challenging for the lead and going up the inside and taking it, Ricardo van der Ende, putting the black Mustang into the lead. Once in front, he just dropped Duncan Houseman. Next time around, he was 10 seconds clear or so. There he goes, the first lap at which he led, but sadly this would be the last, because the next time down the back straight he couldn't stop his big Mustang in time, overshot at turn 7, came back onto the circuit just as Hendrik Still came past in the yellow Sin. They clashed as the Mustang rejoined. Both went off the circuit. That wasn't the end of the problems though for van der Ende. He managed to rejoin, but 4 corners later, absolutely no brakes. He lacked them at turn 7, but completely lacked them. Went off into the gravel. 2 cars off the circuit, out came the safety car. Then on the restart, it was Duncan Houseman leading the way, Simon Knapp behind him, and then Jelle Bielen chasing in the second of the Camaros. They then went very, very close as they went through turns 9 and 10, down to 11, then a little touch, pushing the BMW wide, and that earned a 5-second penalty for the 69 Camaro. Remember that. There'll be more of that to come later in the race. Andre Grammatico running a little wide as he chased Pavel Lefterov's Lotus, but look how close the Camaros were when they came into the pits. Jelle Bielen just clipping the end of the pit entry wall. It was a tyre, but he had a chance then to recover on the pit wall as his teammate Marcel Noren took the battle to Luke Brahms, who'd taken over the race-leading car, and he pulled around the outside and was able to take the lead. Then Jörg Wiebahn came up to tackle them, but overshot at turn 4 in his Aston Martin, but he would live to fight another day. Then he got a chance to challenge for second place with Simon Knapp's replacement, really pushing very hard indeed. And in two corners, Luke Brahms lost 2 positions. Then Jörg Wiebahn was able to challenge for the lead and take the lead in the Aston Martin, but it went almost wrong almost immediately. He got into the lead as we saw, but then he was T-boned, turning in, minding his own business down at turn 7. And the Ecris BMW just ran too hard and too deep into the corner. Rob Severs knocked him around, so the orders kept on changing. Then we had the race, the blue Camaro going off, and into the lead went Marcel Noren. Andre Grammatico closed in, and then the Aston Martin with Wiebahn went past him. Then it slowed with a lap and a half to go. It didn't make the finish yesterday either. And victory by 5.63 seconds went to Marcel Noren, but he had a 5-second penalty to go. And that was the end. And then here is the end of the podium. Lots of people to celebrate. 12 starters in this race, 4,000 incidents. Great job done by the GT4 European Series here at Nogaro.
Merci à la régie, applaudissements pour cette Marseillaise. À retour, on peut se regarder le nombre de Pavel. Bravo André Grammatico pour cette magnifique victoire. Max va récompenser tous les pilotes avec André Grammatico pour commencer naturellement. Et c'est le trophée encore une fois pour le leader de la catégorie A. Avec les couleurs encore une fois de BMW Espace Bienvenue, qui est une de ses concessions BMW, nous disait-on. On a eu des nouvelles d'Ivron, qui connaît très bien André, n'est-ce pas? Avec la faites également Riot Trophies, qui est sport official Quick Spills. Et puis naturellement, bien, très bientôt, plus vite, on retrouvera le championnat GT4. Mesdames et messieurs, attention, musique, champagne.
So this is the podium for the AM class. In fact, the person who'd been in third place on the first podium with the pro class was Arnaud Claassen, and Andre Grammatico it is, who sprayed the champagne from the top step. A French winner at a French circuit. So very entertaining action from the GT4 European Series. Now, the countdown for the Blancpain Sprint Series season opener, the first feature race of the 7-round series, packed with the best GT cars in the world. More action to come, starting at 1:10 past 1.